Howdy, every pony. Munch Buddy here. Recently, a clip from the Dropout TV show Actually was making the rounds on Tumblr.com and started a pretty interesting conversation, debate around the idea of what constitutes a video game. That general conversation, that idea on Tumblr led YouTuber and Tumblr poster Ms.Maximilian to make a poll, then another poll, then a third poll. This video is going to be me filling out that third poll with my own opinions on this take. But just for context first, I'd love if we could watch the clip from Actually in almost its entirety. I've trimmed off a bit from the beginning here, and by that I mean skipped forward a couple seconds in the video. But we're gonna let this play, and then we're gonna talk about it afterwards as, pre-gaming the poll that we are about to look at. So here we go.
I'm a video game, I would say radical, in that I believe if you play the New York Times crossword game on your phone, that's a video game.
You're insane.
It's a video game. It requires a video screen. It is a game. That's a video game.
I was going to let you cook. Now,
it is
get out the kitchen.
100% a video game. I believe that if your mom is great at Candy Crush, she is a gamer.
Yes, you're
and
right
same
there.
with word games.
Nope, that's where you're off. That's where you're off.
Where is the line here, Brian? Like, if you fill out a BuzzFeed quiz, are you playing a video game?
I think if it gives you points and it tracks your stats, it's a video game. A Fitbit video game.
Whoa.
I 100% believe that.
Wow.
I will say, right off the bat, I think Brian David Gilbert is purposefully being humorous and perhaps a bit exaggerated in how broad he considers his definition to be. I think that's fine. I think it makes for a very funny clip. I laughed the first time I watched it, but I've watched it too many times now. I'm not laughing anymore, Brian. I'm thinking about what is a video game. And a lot of people seem to have had the same reaction because, again, Ms.Maximilian, created a poll and it got a lot of conversation going. First, this poll that exists right here on Tumblr, my gut reaction is Brian David Gilbert's definition is too inclusive. I think that's true. I think there's some hints of truth to it, but there are parts of it that I disagree with that we'll get into whenever we get into the poll proper. Then Ms.Maximilian made a poll on Google Forms that I had a lot of fun filling out. I think I filled it out yesterday, the day before, and made a sequel to that poll today with even more debatable, is this a video game, is this not a video game, questions. And I thought it would be fun to record myself going through that poll. I like to hear myself yap. Let's go to the poll itself. Howdy, Editor Munch Buddy here with an Editor Munch Buddy moment. I'm going to cut in periodically throughout the recording to essentially shorten parts in which I think I ramble far too heavily or to include information that I missed. So in the recording, during this part of the recording, I explain that the questions on the poll are in a randomized order, so they're not ordered in a way that is intended to lead you on to any specific conclusions. On top of that, I mentioned that I plan to answer every question on the poll with a definitive yes, this is a video game, or no, this isn't a video game. I think that's where this thought exercise is at its most interesting. This no nuance approach to either something is or is not a video game. And lastly, I did want to say that a big amount of love sent to Ms.Maximilian, who created this poll and creates excellent YouTube videos and is overall just the premier language enthusiast for odd little bits of semantics like this. And I think it's super fun, and this poll is really well made. You can click the text for the question for each part of the poll and immediately get taken to a relevant link to learn about the thing that the poll is asking about. And I think that rules. So big ups to you on Miss Allie. I had a fun time filling out this poll. Back to the recording. But that is enough preamble, because preamble is boring. So we're gonna scroll down to the first of these. An interesting one right off the bat. This one was not on the previous version of the poll. This looks like, well, let's click it. Let's find out. I'm not familiar with it. Japanese only arcade game made by Capcom, styled after New Super Mario Bros. Wii. It looks like we've got interactions. It looks like it's multiplayer. It's kind of throwing me off that the screen seems to be on the table. At first I didn't think there was a screen there, but no, it looks like it has a screen. I consider this an arcade cabinet, and I consider an arcade cabinet to be a video game. I don't reserve video games as only home video game releases. I think that creates some silly faults in logic where, like, how could the home version of Street Fighter 4 be a video game, but the arcade version not be? And while this looks like, it honestly looks like a pretty neat arcade game, I would love to play this at a Chuck E. Cheese, perhaps. But I'm gonna say this is a video game. And yeah, I feel pretty confident about that. And I think as we start to establish, like, more consistent logic to this as we go through, we're gonna go through these answers faster. I mean, this recording is already far too long to only be on the first question, so I'm assuming I'm gonna trim stuff down. But yeah, a Tamagotchi. Interesting. So, Tamagotchis I'm familiar with. I definitely had some growing up. Tamagotchi, it's got a video screen. Or not a video screen, it's like one of those LCD displays, like a Game & Watch or a Tiger Electronics toy. I think I could be tempted into saying products of this ilk are toys rather than games. I think there is a temptation there, but I am pretty broad in what I consider to be a video game, and I think I would consider this a video game as well, even if Wikipedia here calls it a digital pet. No, I think LCD screens are probably about as basic as I can go before I start, not being able to call something a video game anymore. But I remember, growing up, I remember there were like the McDonald's LCD toys for like the Sonic, at least whenever I was growing up. It was like the Sonic games that played like, just classic, like, arcadey style, like, high score, super limited, like, LCD screen games like that. Or not LCD. Is it LCD? I don't know. I'm gonna have to be alright with not delving into every detail. But no, I think in concept it is so similar to the same ideas of other video games, and I think this digital calculator style screen, I'd consider to still be adjacent enough to video games that I would consider a video game. Now we'll see later on down the line, I'm not going to hold the same opinion for a pinball game that doesn't have a video display, but we'll get to that whenever we get to that. But I'll say Tamagotchi is a video game. Wordle, I feel pretty firm in this. It's a game that, keeps track of your score. Not that every game has to keep track of your score, but I think it has some undeniably very video gamey elements. And it's a word game, and, more of a puzzle thing. But I think, I would consider something like Brain Age a video game, and that is primarily logic puzzles. I'm not opposed to the idea that there are mobile games. I think Wordle, by all accounts, is, a very soft video game, but it is a true and blue video game. I believe that. The Pokewalker. I had one of these growing up as well. This one's interesting. So I think its primary functionality is to be a pedometer. How do I pronounce that? Pedometer. It is a pedometer. It counts your steps, but it uses your steps as a gameplay aspect to level up Pokemon, catch Pokemon, find items, transfer them back to a main game. Again, this is like Tamagotchi, where I think this is almost as bare bones as I can possibly let a video game be, but Pikachu's on the... I can't say Pikachu's on the thing, it's a video game, because I'm sure, I wouldn't consider a Pikachu plushie a video game. But no, I would consider the Pokewalker a video game. It has a screen, it has some very video gamey aspects and gameplay elements. I think it has the amount of interactivity that I consider necessary for a video game, and while it serves another purpose, I still think its primary purpose is entertainment, which I think is not always going to be hard and fast, but I think a lot of what I consider to be video games are things that are made primarily with entertainment value, as opposed to just just pure functionality. We'll talk about that at a couple examples later, but I'm gonna say the Pokewalker I consider to be a video game. In my personal, very broad sense, yeah, I think that's a video game. Wii Chess is a video game. I think, if I put chess into a video game, it's a video game. I couldn't look at something like... I think you get into really muddy waters. Do I look at something like Balatro? Balatro isn't poker. It's a video game. It's got different things going on. And even though Wii Chess is a simulation of a board game, you play it on your Wii with a Wiimote. It is a screen. It is a game. I think it's a video game. And we'll see later, chess.com will be on this poll, and I will also call that a video game, but not over the board chess, because there's no video element. But it's a game, and it's a video, and or video or some sort of screen displaying the information needed to interact with the game. The Oregon Trail, I'm assuming this is referring to the PC game? Yes, the PC game. Now, let's see. Teleprinter output of the game. Oh wait, does it display the information on the screen? Oh. So does text-based strategy video game. The original version. Huh. That's interesting. So I'm familiar with some versions of the Oregon Trail. You know, I think there is I believe there's like visual versions of it, like ones that show up on the screen on the terminal, or you know, oh, I'm thinking of perhaps this DOS version of it. Yes, this is the version that I'm thinking of. All right, that's interesting. I didn't know this history about the Oregon Trail. Apparently, this first version was done on a big hunky computer and printed your words via text. I'm gonna say I think, from my personal definition of video game, I'm gonna say something that you interact with through something being printed, even if it's being printed by a computer. I'm not seeing the screen aspect here. I think whenever we talk video game, we expect to see some sort of screen involved. So I'm gonna say the original version of the Oregon Trail that prints out on paper in real time as you play it, I'm gonna say that's not a video game. I'm also gonna say Bop It is not a video game. There is not a screen. That is a quite fun and interactive toy. What is an egg? I'm not familiar with what is an egg. Dun, 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 dun. Oh, is this... Alright, took me a second. This seems to be a Flash game posted on the Homestar Runner website. I have friends who were very very Homestar Runner pilled. Unfortunately wasn't something that I got super into in my youth, so I apologize for not being immediately familiar. I'm gonna say a Flash game is a video game. I think in the broadest sense of the term, I think it absolutely is. I don't fully understand why I would debate that. But then of course I'm sure at some point will come, or I can already think of one example that'll be later on that will contest that thought process. But we'll talk about that whenever we get there. I'm gonna say chess.com is a video game. Chess is a game. I think digitizing it for play on screens and visual devices, electronic devices in that sense, where the visual medium matters. Like the visual medium of the game is interacted with. I think that's a video game. Yeah. Thayer's Quest. What was this? From the creators of Dragon Lair, I'm assuming this is... It's, fully animated like Dragon's Lair, but full control over things. So I'm gonna say this, just from a quick look at this Wikipedia page, this looks like Dragon's Lair but more video gamey. And I already considered Dragon's Lair to be a video game. I have a pretty bold idea that, or not bold idea, but I think I consider a visual novel to be a video game. and that can be sometimes very minimal interaction. I don't think the amount of interaction we have to have with the game has to be high in order for me to consider it a video game. So I'm gonna consider Buyer's Quest a video game. Fortnite is a video game. Genshin Impact is a video game. I think both of these things are video games. I don't see much reason to debate it. Portal 2 is a video game, a very good video game. Princess Toadstool's Castle Run Game Watch. So this is like those Tiger Electronic games that I was mentioning earlier. Man. I mean, looks like a game to me with a screen-based aspect. I'm not, you know, I would consider this a video game, same as I did with Tomodachi, or not Tomodachi, Tamagotchi. So yeah, I think that's a video game. I think those, you know, your Game & Watch style games, your Tiger Electronic games, I think they're video games. Again, I think that's as basic as our digital screen can get before I start, you know, raising an eyebrow at it. But I think that technology is fine for use in video games and still being considered a video game. Gone Home. I've heard the name, not super familiar. First-person exploration game, released on a bunch of video game consoles. You control it, tells... I'm gonna assume that this is one of those really narrative games, exploration single player. No defined goals in the game. Explore new areas of the house, search for new messages. Oh, so not really narrative, just a kind of like Yume Nikki style, like, wander around. You know, at least without going full into, like, fully researching this game. This is a video game. Mario, is this just Mario the character? No, Mario the character is not a video game. Silly. Actually is not a video game. It is a video series. Now, if they let me start clicking on stuff and making decisions, we'll have more to talk about. But no, actually is not a video game. Pokemon Sleep is a video game. I played it for a certain period of time. It's a very minimal video game. I would say it's very similar to Neko Atsume, if you are familiar with that. Pretty bare bones, but it's a video game. I play it on a video screen. It is a game. It has gameplay elements. Yeah. Microsoft Excel is not a video game. It is spreadsheet software for your computer. Now, I know people have used Microsoft Excel as a game engine, and I would argue that those games, you know, if you're playing Doom on Microsoft Excel, like, Doom is a video game. But Microsoft Excel isn't a video game, even if it can play games, in the same way that I wouldn't consider the Nintendo Entertainment System a video game. It's a video game console. It is the hardware that you play the video game on. Or like, I wouldn't consider the Unity engine a video game. It's a video game software. Choose Your Own Adventure is interactive movie. Oh, I almost made a grave mistake. An interactive movie. Use your remote control. At least from a quick look through here, I think this is consistent with my idea of what I consider a video game. I don't know how I could look at something like this and say this is not a video game, but then look at something like Tsukihime or the Fate Stay series and be all like, oh, but those ones are video games. We have a narrative that we as a player interacts with, and it's on a screen. There's some sort of video component to it. I like that. I think it's a video game. Jeopardy. So this one was hard, and this one was hard on the previous poll. I'm re-examining it here again in this moment. I don't think Jeopardy is a video game. I think it's, and maybe this will come up more later, but I think the screens in Jeopardy are only half the game, if that. You know, the rest of it is, you know, you have your Alex Trebek reading you the questions, telling you if you're correct. The screens don't do that on their own. They're more displaying information required to play the game. You know, you could replace the screens in Jeopardy with poster board in a way that I think doesn't fundamentally change it. But this is a hard one. I think this one's interesting. I wouldn't consider it a video game. But definitely an interesting one to think about. Howdy, Munch Buddy here, bringing you another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I think I come to this conclusion later on in the recording, and I'm able to better verbalize why I don't think Jeopardy is a video game, but I thought I would input it here, and I really do think it's it's a really interesting example for a poll like this. I would say that Jeopardy, the screens in Jeopardy have no input. Your input as a player doesn't get, you know, you don't get any sort of feedback from the screens on Jeopardy. It is Alex Trebek who tells you whether or not you got it right or not. You know, and I just think too much of the game is happening by hand of people in the room as opposed to your, you know, your screens taking any of that input. Like the score on the display the score on your display in front of you doesn't change because you got the answer right. It changes because when you got the answer right, a human being ticked up the score. And I think that just fundamentally sets it apart from what I would consider a more traditional video game. Now, if we take a video game version of Jeopardy, like, I think there's one on the Switch, I think there's one on the original NES or SNES, those are video games because those ones are fully contained and the gameplay is being handled by the video game itself. And I think that's interesting. Again, a really interesting example. I kind of wanted to ramble even a little bit longer about it. But anyways, back to the recording. The NES Classic Edition runs video games. It is not a video game. Unless we're referring to... No, we're not referring to the software that it runs. We're referring to the product itself. Yeah, no, that's not a video game. It plays video games. Getting into philosophy. What is this? It's, Oh, I think I had watched a video about this once, about how if you just click on the first link for every article on Wikipedia, basically everything leads to the page for philosophy. I think that's interesting. But I don't think it is a video game. I mostly just contest with the idea that I don't think it's a game. I'm gonna say it's not a video game. Tomodachi Life. Hey! Tomodachi comes back. Not Tamagotchi, Tomodachi. Tomodachi Life is a video game in the same way that The Sims or any other goofy life simulation games are video games. This poll is not a video game. I think it can be very fun, it can be very entertaining, but I don't think there is a game aspect here. Dragon's Lair. Let's just make sure this is referring to the interactive film, the Laserdisc video game. It says it right there. I'm gonna say, Dragon's Lair is a video game. It's a very bare bones video game, but it's a video game. Space Wars is a video game, and quite an old one. Marble Blast Platinum. I never played any of the Marble Blast games. I played the Marble It Up games whenever one of them came to the Switch. Well, Marble Blast Platinum is a video game. Calculator spelling. Well, it is the calculator screen, like we were talking about with the... No, I don't think spelling things on a calculator is a video game. I think there's an idea of... I think we can engage in forms of play that take place on electronic devices. Like me answering this poll right now is a form of play on an electronic device, on my computer. But I don't think that necessarily makes it a video game. I think, you know, I don't think video games have to have like super strict rules by any means, but I think normally I think of a video game as something that is not curated in a sense, not even goal oriented. Interesting thought. No. I don't know quite what I consider to be different with calculator spelling or answering this poll versus, you know, other things being video games. I guess I'm trying to define what I think makes the game aspect of a game as opposed to computer based or electronic based entertainment. I think, I don't know, maybe I'll find my answer as I keep scrolling on. I could say right now that I don't know how to quantify why I don't think calculator spelling or this poll itself are video games, but I can say that I don't think they're video games. Wii Fit is a video game, so we're gonna see this whenever we talk about Fitbit later. I don't think Fitbit is a video game. I think Fitbit is a fitness app that uses the language and like visual medium of video games to incentivize its primary goal, which is keeping track of your exercising stats. And I think its primary purpose isn't entertainment. It is it is fitness, and it doesn't have enough, you know, time. Oh, but how would that make me feel about Pokemon Sleep? Or Wii Fit? What I'll say is, I think Pokemon Sleep and Wii Fit engage in forms of play that Fitbit doesn't. Wii Fit has mini games that, you know, can vaguely be for exercise, but a lot of the mini games in Wii Fit, outside of like your yoga poses and your, you know, your training exercises, a lot of those mini games are designed with fun first as a mentality. Their main purpose is enjoyment or entertainment, and maybe that's how I feel differently about, you know, calculator spelling. Nothing there is designed purposefully for you to play with. You can play with it and have fun anyways. But there are elements of Wii Fit and elements of Pokemon Sleep that are designed for the express purpose of play. And I don't think Fitbit is the same. As someone who used Fitbit a decent bit, it keeps track of your stats, which would normally be very dry, so instead they put the language and aesthetics of video games on top of it. And I think that's the difference. So I would say Wii Fit is a video game. But Simon's not a video game. It's a computer toy. There's no visual, like, screen-based interaction happening here. It's an electronic toy. Her story, the game seems very interesting. I didn't play it myself. It's, but by all accounts, I consider it a video game. I mean, I think I've considered other things a video game on this list that I would consider less controversial takes than calling her story a video game. Beginner's Guide 2015. I'm not familiar with what this is. Interactive storytelling video game by Davey Redrin. Follow-up to the Stanley Parable. I don't think I knew that this game existed or that it came out. It looks neat. I would say this is a video game in a similar way that I would consider the Stanley Parable a video game. Yeah, that's a video game. Oh, hey, there it is, Stanley Parable, also a video game. Raid Shadow Legends is a video game. You know, regardless of my thoughts on it, it's definitely a video game. I'm gonna take a sip of some water in what I will probably trim from the video. God, we're already at 40 minutes. I feel like we're barely in this. Miiverse is not a video game. I think there are elements of it that can border on video game. I mean, in order to interface with it in the first place, you have to make a Mii on the 3DS Mii channel or on your Wii U Mii channel. And no, I don't think I would consider the Mii Maker a video game. But even then, the Miiverse is, you know, a Nintendo guardrail social media platform for talking about video games. But I don't think in and of itself it is a video game. Street Pass, though, that is a video game. You know, you have all the different mini games in it where, you know, there's like Find Me, where you take the Miis that you've met in your street passes and you fight against like RPG enemies. Totally a video game. Mavis Beacon teaches typing. So I had at least one of these Mavis Beacon products at some point in time. So the one that I remember had, you know, types of like mini games and other oddities that were interactive, stuff that I think existed to make play educational. And, you know, maybe we're running into the Fitbit problem again, where am I considering this primarily a teaching software, or am I considering this a video game? I think it's a teaching software that is also contains enough elements in it that are designed primarily for play or for entertainment, but I would consider it a video game. So yeah. E-Formula, I clicked this earlier. It is a form of racing, or Formula E racing. It's electric cars, but it's motorsport. It's racing. It's, you know, it's NASCAR. It's drag racing, or, you know, any form of similar thing. While very neat, I would say it's not a video game. Homestuck. Homestuck is hard to classify. So for the purpose of this question, I'm going to assume that we are talking about the web comic of Homestuck, not the print version of Homestuck. The print version of Homestuck and the web version of Homestuck, in my opinion, are two completely different products. Homestuck is something that I'm all too familiar with. I was growing up in a certain age, it was inevitable. You know, mostly a webcomic. Sometimes featured flash animations, sometimes featured lightly branching story elements. There are times in which the story would direct you to play through events in a non-linear order and then loop you back to the same page. And once you've read all the things on the other two paths, like, it'll take you on the third path. It does that whenever it's introducing you to the second set of humans. I can't remember what act that would have been. I think Act 4. But also, interestingly, Homestuck would frequently feature full-blown little flash games that you would play through that I'd consider not totally necessary to the story, but definitely a part of the story. Just an interesting piece of web fiction that blends a whole bunch of different mediums. And I would say Homestuck is a video game. If I'm going to, you know, later consider, you know, visual novels to be video games, I think there are visual novels out there with less interactive elements than Homestuck. I think it exists for play, for entertainment, and it obviously is something that we experience digitally through screens. I would consider Homestuck a video game. Howdy, Editor Munch Buddy here with an Editor Munch Buddy moment. it's come to my realization that it is entirely possible someone could watch this video and not be familiar with Homestuck enough to know what I mean whenever I say Homestuck has flash games and animations and sections where you can choose parts of the story. So I have pulled up a window using the unofficial Homestuck reader, and we can glance along. So here on this page, we have got an animation that is contained within part of Homestuck. As you click these links on the bottom of the page, it takes you to the next page of the webcomic, and sometimes those webcomic pages have animations with music and sound and visuals. Similarly, there are parts in the story where you can interact, and you never really make decisions here that affect anything, but it can put you in a situation where you are choosing essentially what things to go see first, like which part of the story to read first. Then it circles you back to your selection page, and you can, pick the other option to read the other thing as well. And I think most definitively, there are pages within Homestuck that are, self-contained flash games. They contain music, you walk around, you talk to people. Sometimes there's like some very light gameplay elements in these moments. Most of the time they are just walk and talk to, set a scene before a big moment in the story. So, that is Homestuck. I think it is a video game, as I said in the previous recording. I don't know how I could justify, something like Fate Stay being a video game, but say that Homestuck is not. It is just too similar. If anything, I think Homestuck is more of a video game than some visual novels. So, yeah, we'll leave it there. And quite frankly, Homestuck still kind of holds up. You should go read it. Now back to the recording. The Cha-Cha Slide. Is this the song? The song Cha-Cha Slide. Cha-Cha Slide is not a video game. It's a song with instructions. But you turn on Cha-Cha Slide at a party and everyone's having fun. I'm just trying to find interesting things to say. Cha-Cha Slide it takes a special environment to make the Cha-Cha Slide work. Everyone needs to be in a mood where they get a little bit corny. But it's not a video game. Infinity Nikki. Yeah, that's a video game. BuzzFeed, which Friends character are you? Well, we're taking long enough as we are. Let's go through this. I need to find out which Friends character I am. I'm gonna pick Pink. I'm going to pick... I think right now I'm probably feeling Jurassic Park 1. Pick a season. I'm a winter girly. Pick a song. I think I'm down to go with a little help from my friend by the Beatles. I'm a big Sgt. Pepper's enjoyer. On a Friday night, you could be found. I'm doing this. I don't know. I'll consider making dinner or watching a movie at home. I think this is similar to that. Pick a power. I think I gotta engage in a little bit of time travel. I think I can improve my quality of life and the quality of life of other people I care about. And I can get up to some shenanigans. It would be fun. Pick a bird. I'm feeling Big Bird. It is the obvious silly choice here, and I love the Muppets. A fantasy series. Well, I'm gonna go Twilight here. Twilight 1, unironically good movie. The other ones, ironically good. I would rather be someone who bases my personality off of Twilight than someone who bases my identity off of any of these. The Lord of the Rings people, you know, I think that's objectively the most correct path here, but I can't lie to myself and pretend that I'm a real Lord of the Rings head. I don't have that honor. One of these days I'll read them. Who would I rather date? Well... This is a real thinker. And by real thinker, I mean, I don't feel very strongly about any of these. We'll pick Rachel. It's a friend's quiz. It'd feel a little bit fucked up not to. On New Year's Eve, I will be not watching fireworks. I hate fireworks. I'm probably going to be small gathering with closest friends. That's what I've done the past couple of years. Pick a TV show. Oh, we're really scraping the bottom of the barrel. I guess I'll pick House. I'm autistic after all. Fuck, I didn't want to be Ross. God damn it. Sorry, I thought an exaggerated reaction would be funny. Now how do I feel about this? I think my gut reaction was to say that I don't think a BuzzFeed quiz is a video game. But that, you know, did exist primarily for fun, for enjoyment. You know, it took a bunch of input and gave me some output. There wasn't much movement there, but I don't think movement is necessary, and I played it on an electronic device with a video element. I'm gonna say I think that BuzzFeed quiz was a video game. And I don't know how I feel about that. That's not an answer I expected to give, but I actually had a bit of fun answering those questions. But then again, I'm having fun answering the questions on this poll. But I think this poll... Am I being contradictory just because I had a little bit too much fun filling out a BuzzFeed quiz? No, I think there's an element of play to the BuzzFeed quiz where it's giving you a bunch of wacky questions meant to draw a reaction from you, but then it's you know, I guess it has more goal-oriented elements than this poll, which is finding out which friend's character I am. I'm gonna say that I think its intents are different than the poll that I'm filling out now, which if you don't remember, scroll back up, it was one of the things I had to answer if I thought this poll itself was a video game. I don't think this poll is a video game. I think the BuzzFeed quiz is a video game. I think the BuzzFeed quiz is primarily primary purpose is entertainment, and I could picture someone going through this poll with a stern look on their face, purely driven by wanting to give accurate information to what they feel, or just out of pure scientific interest as opposed to a sense of fun or play. Gold Digger. This is a micro game from a WarioWare game. Do I consider a micro game to be a video game? I think I do. It's a video game. Would I consider Mario 1-1 a video game? No. That is not a video game, that is a level of a video game. And I think for a similar reason, I'm gonna have to say Gold Digger is not a video game. Now, if it were released as some sort of standalone entity that I could play separate from the WarioWare game it is attached to, then I would say it's a video game. Yeah. And I think game compilations are, well, there are questions later on down the line that'll make me answer how I feel about that. So let's just keep moving. A hot dog, is this just a hot dog, the food? A hot dog, the food? Look, I'm a vegetarian. I don't partake much. But it's also not a video game. Fate Stay Night is a video game. I firmly believe that visual novels, even ones that are almost entirely linear, are a video game. And, I guess it's kind of hard to quantify in a sense, but I think it has like the computer video visual element. It has, its primary purpose is play or entertainment, or has large portions of it that are intended for play or entertainment. And it has interaction. Even if we're talking about a visual novel in which you don't make decisions, I still think you make interactions through clicking things. If it has like voice acting, letting that play through or skipping past it. Like, you could play a visual novel and just skip all the text. You're making a choice there where you just mash through the text. Like, I would consider that a video game. Even if it's very minimal in the ways that you interact with it. Mario Bros. Arcade. We already decided earlier that I consider arcade games to be video games. I'm gonna say Mario Bros. Arcade. Let me just double check again, make sure. Alright, it's this one. I've played this one. Yeah, that's a video game, alright. Wiki Race. So, wiki racing is, I think, a form of play where you're using something that is not intended for play against its original purpose and making play out of it. Like, if I pick up a stick from outside, that stick isn't a toy even if I choose to play with it, because it wasn't designed with the intent of entertainment. It's a stick. And similarly, I think Wiki Race is a self-imposed form of play that just happens to happen on a computer. So I would say it's not a video game. Now, if someone made a website that was like a fully contained version of Wiki Race, but like it tracks if you accomplish your goal of getting to the end of the wiki race, I would say that's a video game. Like, wiki race as it's a game. No, it's not a game. It's a form of play, and that's a little bit different. It's too entirely self-imposed to be a video game. Petscop. I have heard of it. Howdy. Editor Munch Buddy here with another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I'm gonna save us a bit of time here, and in the original recording, I wasn't super familiar with Petscop. I had to take a bit of time to research it, and figure out how I felt about it. I ended up deciding that it is not a video game, but with an asterisk there of, I don't think the poll does a good job indicating whether we are talking about Petscop, the web series, or the game that they play in the web series. I think the answer is a little bit different for both of those. So in my mind, the web series is just not a video game, it's a web series. But the game that they play on the web series, I can't play that game, so I don't know it, because it's entirely possible that the game you see being played in Petscop is like just a full animation that is let to play all the way through without any input from the player. It doesn't look like that. It looks like it is a game made in some form of game engine, but I in my quick research, I couldn't find out for sure whether or not it was a game made in some game engine for the use in the web series. I'm going to assume that it's a game, but I'm going to say the poll was talking about the web series in the first place, as far as I can tell. So I went ahead with the poll and said that it is not a video game. Back to the recording. Trade in it. I'm going to say Petscop is not a video game, but sounds neat. Tumblr is not a video game. It's a social media website. Zork. Zork is the text-based adventure game. I want to see if it always displayed on the screen of the computer. Looks like it. They're not showing any sort of like paper scroll things like there was for that really old version of Oregon Trail. Yeah, I think Zork is a video game. It's no more or less a video game than, Fate's Day. RPG Maker for the PlayStation. That's interesting. I'm gonna say no. And we're gonna see this come up with another thing, or another thing later on down the line, that I'll go slightly more in depth into, just because I think it's a funnier and clearer example of it. But I think RPG Maker for the PlayStation 1 is a video game development software that just happens to run on a video game console. And as such, I'm going to say it's not a video game. Now you can make a video game in this software, and that would be a video game, but the software itself is not a video game. PDI check. I'm sorry, I keep doing the tongue click. I'm sure it's annoying. I'm gonna try and not do that. PDI check is a validated Editor Munch Buddy here with another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I did some research on the PDI check for the 3DS using their website, and it pretty well seems to be some sort of vision test using the 3DS's unique upper 3D screen. It looks super cool. It seems really interesting. It was fun to read on, but I sat and stared at the page for like 4 minutes straight, and that does not make for a very entertaining YouTube video. So we're gonna cut it short, and I'm gonna say that in my brief research of it, I don't think it is a video game, at least not what I would consider a video game, but it's very interesting. Back to the video.
It has
That seems really interesting. What an interesting pull. I really love all these selections that Miss Sally made here. Miss Sally. I think Bokabona, I understand it as like, I believe I'm supposed to be putting emphasis on the consonants in words, and also that like it's the language is broken down. This is so off topic. Anyways, I'm gonna say PDI Check is not a video game, but looks really neat. And is an interesting pull for a quiz like this, or not quiz, a poll like this. Microsoft Minesweeper is a video game. Game Maker, the engine, the software, is not a video game. It's a tool that you use to make video games. In the same way that I've already made a bunch of examples similar to this. Stack Up is... Stack Up is a video game with a really interesting controller. You know, I think Stack Up is a video game. I think you can even play it without the ROB, if I remember correctly. Yeah. AI Dungeon, so I had looked this up before. As I understand it, it is an AI-generated text adventure game. It says it right there. I think text adventure games are video games. I would say AI Dungeon probably qualifies as a proper text adventure game. Whether or not it's a good one, I'm gonna assume not. I don't think AI is quite there. But then again, I haven't tried it for myself. Who knows? But my gut instinct is I am probably not a fan of the premise of this game. I don't think an AI knows what stories are interesting to me. OXO. OXO looks like a video game. It is a computer playing tic-tac-toe. I would assume you play it as well. The screens are cathode ray tube screens, CRT screens, right? Is that what this is saying? So, I would consider... I just don't know if this simulator is an accurate representation of how the game would play out. Graphically display the state of the computer's memory. I'm gonna say that this is a video game. I think you can interact with it and play a game of tic-tac-toe that, by the sounds of it, you will probably lose. That checks out. But Deep Blue is here, and I think that's interesting. So, Deep Blue, my gut instinct was Deep Blue is not a video game. I don't think it has the screen aspect that I associate as being necessary for a video game. I think it's just like one step off from what I would consider a video game. But no, you can play chess against a computer, but Deep Blue is picking moves and someone still has to move its pieces on and over the top board or just play it through text. But it's not outputting the text from my understanding. I might be lacking in full understanding of what Deep Blue is or what it is doing. But if I understand it the way that I think I understand it, I believe I would consider it to not be a video game. Sticky Balls. Sticky Balls released for an interesting little device, but Sticky Balls that's a video game. American football, not a video game. Dinosaur game, playable on Google Chrome whenever a web page doesn't load. Dinosaur game is a video game. It's a little high score based game, much like many a simple, Tiger Electronic style thing or arcade style thing. I'm gonna say it's a video game. You have to burn the rope. This looks like a video game. It's a Flash game. I think Flash games are video games. That's a video game. To be or not to be 2015? Is this Hamlet, but choose your own adventure via a video medium? Sounds like it. Looks silly, looks like you're making choices, looks like there are visuals on a screen for the intent of play. That's a video game. Color TV Game 6. I'm assuming this one is the one that we commonly know as Pong. Yep, 6 variations of Pong. I think from my understanding, what I know about the Nintendo's Color TV games, I believe they are all video games. I would say it's a video game. Microsoft Word, not a video game. Tabletop Simulator. I think it is a video game. You can play games in it in a very direct way of, like, you can play chess in Tabletop Simulator, and I already think Wii Chess is a game, and I think chess.com is a game, but also you can have a lot of fun just fucking throwing around physics objects. I think that is a game in and of itself. So I'm gonna say Tabletop Simulator is a video game. LSD Dream Emulator. I played it on a PlayStation 1 emulator way back in the day. That is a video game. I would compare it again to something like Yume Nikki, where, no hard and fast objective, but it, a form of entertainment that you interact with, at least in a very limited way, and it takes place via a video display, a screen display. I think that's a video game. Keep talking and nobody explodes. Interesting, because one player's definitely playing a video game, and then the other player is sitting perhaps with a paper packet in their hands, helping the person who is playing the video game play the video game. And that's interesting. So maybe the little asterisk in my mind that I would put on this one is the person defusing the bomb is definitely playing a video game. The people reading the book part of it are assisting someone play a video game. But I think the product of keep talking and no one explodes, this program, the software that you run on your computer that enables you to play this game, I think That is a video game. Caves of Time, Choose Your Own Adventure book. I could be talked into the idea that I think this is a game, but it ain't a video game, so it's not a video game. Let me drink some water. I got scared by Polybius. Polybius? Polybius is an urban legend, right? Yeah. Polybius is an urban legend. It is not a video game. In the same way that if I tell you a story about a video game or an episode of Malcolm in the Middle features a video game in it, I don't think those are video games. They are stories or narratives that include the concept of a video game. Polybius is the concept of what if a video game were scary, but it's not a video game. It's a story, an urban legend. Tiddlywinks? Well, Tiddlywinks? I mean, I'm not gonna front. This shit looks really fun. I bet it'd be a blast. But that's not a video game. That's, a board game or a toy. Yeah, it's not a video game. Starry Night is not a video game. A very beautiful painting. Line Rider is a video game. I think, you know, even if we're talking, I'm mostly just familiar with the Flash game version of the game. You know, it's a form of play. I like it. I like Line Rider. I would be down to play Line Rider as soon as I finish recording, or finish this poll and finish recording me filling out this poll. I'm gonna leave that tab open to remind myself, but I know you can't see that tab. Candy Crush Saga is a video game. Mobile games are video games. I think Bejeweled is a video game. Candy Crush is Bejeweled but on phone. That's a video game. Mario Bros. Game & Watch is a video game. I wouldn't fault someone's definition for not including these like LCD / like calculator screen games as video games. I think it is a bit of a stretch on the idea of a video game, but I think it's so within the spirit of what we mean by a video game. Even if it's not quite the exact same technology. Because then we start breaking down, like, well, what sets this screen apart from a modern screen? You know, we got little things that light up and move, and our eyes can look at them and be like, ah, that's a little thing that lit up. Every screen is just a bunch of really tiny pixels that light up to show images, you know? These pixels just happen to be bigger and shaped like funny little Mr. Game & Watch type guys. Miitomo was a video game. I think it's kind of got that Tomodachi Life, like life simulation thing going on. There's a social element to the game. There's like, you know, you can go talk to other people's Miis, earn coins, buy outfits for your Mii. I think, by all accounts, it is a video game. Microbon, as I understand it, it's one of those, like, I'm always blanking on the name, one of those block-pushing puzzle games, a la something like the very excellent Void Stranger. Microbon, as far as I could tell, so this link leads to howdy everybody, Editor Munch Buddy here with another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I spend way too long trying to figure out what Microbon is. From my understanding, Microbon is a Sakobon style puzzle where you push the block around, except it is displayed entirely through ASCII text that, as far as I can tell, there's no direct way to interact with it. I think you're just supposed to visually solve the puzzle. Think of it similarly to looking at a picture of a maze on your computer, but not having any way to solve the maze through input. I ended up deciding that I don't think Microbon is a video game on the basis that I think a video game requires some form of input, even if it's really minimal. But Microbon, as long as I'm understanding it correctly, I'm still a little confused about the whole thing, but if it is like I think it is, where it is a text document of puzzles, then I don't think that's a puzzle game, in the same way that I wouldn't consider an ebook a puzzle game, or an ebook a video game, even if I do it on the computer and it's telling a story similar to like a visual novel. But a visual novel, it takes my input and does something with it, even if it's just move to the next screen and change the picture I'm looking at and play a sound effect sometimes. So yeah, that is what I ended up deciding. I spent multiple minutes trying to figure out what Microbon is, so this is another one of those time-saving edits. Anyways, back to the recording. That one was really interesting to think about. I'm probably gonna have to cut out multiple minutes there where I'm just wrapping my head around that concept. That's really interesting. That's it's not a video game, but you can make a video game out of the puzzles David W. Skinner has made. Or I'm assuming it's David W. Skinner. Well, no, it's because other things was listing it as being done by Abel Martin. I'm actually going to close this line writer tab. I keep accidentally opening it. Maybe it's perhaps Abel Martin. I'm just reading the name that's on the image here. No, Microbon, I'm going to say it's not a video game. I think there needs to be a point of interaction, even if it's a super minimal one. The idea that it exists without interaction other than thinking about it, engaging with it mentally, even if I'm just like clicking a button to progress from one puzzle to the next, I think that'd be different. But certainly a really interesting edge case. That was fun to think about. One Night Ultimate Werewolf. This looks like a board game. It's a card game. Alright. So dun-ka-dun-dun. Looks like a social deduction game. Right? A la Mafia. The interesting part here is also provides a smartphone app taking the role of the moderator. That's interesting. I think if you are playing the game using that smartphone app, I could probably believe that that's a video game, but I think just on its own, the idea that you could buy this box then never touch that app, I don't think I can in good conscience call this a video game. So I will say it is not a video game. Certainly, again, another really interesting edge case. The scale of the universe. Let's see what this is. It's an online visualization tool released on Newgrounds. Seems interesting. I would love to see Scale of the Universe on Newgrounds. Oh, music's gonna play and it's gonna be loud as hell, isn't it? Oh no. Can zoom in and out. I'm gonna say that is, I would consider that closer to an interactive diagram or a learning visual aid. I don't think that is designed with the purpose of play. So I'm gonna say it's not a video game. Chess. The original chess over the board, not a video game. I just double checked that that's what we're referring to in 1497. Yep, it's a strategy board game. Yeah, no, not a video game. The Super Mario Brothers movie is not a video game. Microsoft Flight Simulator is a video game. I think it borders on the idea of, I think in the same way that I think a chess simulation, I just think there's too much interaction here for it to be not a video game. I think it's designed with play. At least some part of the idea is focused on the idea of play. Although this is just the oldest version of it, but I don't know. It's definitely another, again, really interesting edge case. If I think this is consistent with other things I've stated, I've played a couple different Microsoft Simulator pieces of software, and I think generally there is a sense of play to it. There is a win and lose case of if you land your flight, whether you do your full flight. Yeah, I'm gonna say that it's a video game, but it's probably in the same way that like the Game & Watch games are like right on the edge case of how little screen you can have for a video game. I think Microsoft's Flight Simulator is how right on that line of how little play you can have in your game before it's not a game anymore. But I think it's a game. What is Res 2001? Wikipedia seems assured that it's a video game. Rail shooter video game. Looks like you're shooting. Music game genre and rail shooters. By all accounts, made by people who did Space Channel 5. That's neat. Yeah. By all accounts, this looks like a video game. Detroit Become Human? Unfortunately, a video game. Harry teaches you to time travel 2019. I'm not familiar with what this is.
You want to learn how to time travel. I can sense it. Well, I've been time traveling for years, but you look too inexperienced. Sorry, kiddo. Hold up, this restaurant's dessert has been poisoned, and a baby is crawling to go eat it. Well, a precious life is on the line. And I'll need an assistant to save it, so it's your lucky day. I'll teach you how to time travel. First rule, don't do anything until the clock says it's time. The clock doesn't mess around. So here goes. If you're watching this video on a computer, pressing J or L will warp you 10 seconds backward or forward in time. Oh god, since when did this baby know how to run? Anyway, if you're instead watching on your phone, sorry, this effect isn't gonna work. Come back when you have access to a computer. The baby's getting close, so we need to act now. I'm gonna time freeze the baby, and you will warp forward the cake's age. 3, 2, 1. Whoa, baby doesn't want to chow down on the now rotten, smelly cake. We saved its life. Oh, the baby wants to drink vodka now. That's
Yo,
the leeway
vodka?
I think you've learned enough. I'll leave this one up to you. Smelly cake? The party. We gotta warp backward. Perfect. He's 22 and is enjoying the booze. Yikes, now he's hungover. Let's warp him out of it. He's dead. What a tragedy. 'Tis the fate of a time traveler to witness every youngster die of old age. Second rule, never become attached to the children you assist. That being said, you've made good progress. But there's one last skill I want to teach you. Overlapping time.
Howdy, Editor Munch Buddy here with another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out the 11 minutes that I spend playing this video. Generally the concept is when commanded by the video, you press J or L to move 10 seconds forward or back in the video, and the video is made in a way that whenever you do that, it responds to your action or inaction. It's definitely interesting. I think there's, with a lot of video games, if you do nothing, the game does nothing. And I think, that's what makes sense to me for a video game. If a video game plays itself through without you interacting with it, then I think there's something weird going on. At least not, super traditional. That being said, I think this video constitutes a video game. I'm playing it, I'm pressing buttons to interact with it. It's definitely a weird case though, because there's also a world where I can just let the entire video play through and refuse to interact with it. And at a certain point, the video, there are parts where it really assumes that you're skipping along with it. It's interesting for sure, and I had a lot of fun messing around with it. I'm gonna say it's a video game. It fits too many of the criterias of other things that I consider to be video games. Clearly made for fun, clearly built for interaction, and clearly built for fun or entertainment. Not every video game has to be fun, but it has to be, and it displays via video on a screen. There is a display element to it. So yeah, I see no reason not to call this a video game. And now back to the recording. That's a video game. I think it's a weird medium to play a video game through, but I think it has all the aspects of a video game. I think it has more interaction than other things that I do consider a video game. There's certainly video elements to it. And it's a game. I think it's primarily designed for play or for entertainment. Yeah, I think that's a video game. PT is a video game. I think a demo of a video game is a video game. Pokemon Go is a video game. I understand we haven't gone into Fitbit yet. I keep talking about it. We're gonna have talked about it to death by the time we get to it. I think Pokemon Go has fitness as a side motive, but there's moments of play that are removed from just fitness, similar to whenever we were talking about Wii Fit ages ago. You know, you can do a gym battle, and you could do that while like laying down in bed, and you're just like clicking on the screen. I think Pokemon Go is a video game. Fashion Dreamer 2023. Not familiar with this. Looks like it's on the Nintendo Switch. It's a dress-up game. Yeah. I think dress-up games are video games. I would extend the same to like Flash dress-up games. And I would extend the same to like, you know, your Ye Olden Barbie dress-up games. Yeah. High-low double-up Joker Poker. This is video gambling, huh? Right? Or is it not gambling? It looks like you can input coins, but it doesn't look like it's like... It says amusement only on it. 25 cents per play. I'm gonna say that this is a video game. It looks like a video game by all accounts. I think a lot of like, you know, I think video slots is a video game. I just think it's a video game purposed for evil. But I believe the same of something like Genshin Impact. Genshin Impact is a video game purposed for evil, but that doesn't make it not a video game. Microsoft Paint. Microsoft Paint, which has, by the way, been on the screen the whole time, and I kept thinking I was gonna use it at some point to explain thought processes, but I didn't. Yeah, I think Microsoft Paint is not a video game. I think it'd be a little bit silly to call it a video game. But it is neat. But it's not a video game. It's a digital art program. Minecraft Story Mode. So this is referring to the original release of it, as opposed to specifically the Netflix release. Spoiler alert for like a narrative Netflix thing that'll appear later, but I consider this to be a video game regardless of whether or not we're talking about the version that was released as a standalone game or the version that was released as a Netflix series. I think it has a level of interaction that I associate with a video game. New York Stock Exchange. Interesting. No. I think it's possible to engage with the stock without interacting with the screen at all. I don't think it's designed primarily for play. And I don't think it necessitates any sort of interaction. You could just let it do its own thing. Yeah, I'm gonna say the New York Stock Exchange is not a video game. The Magnavox Odyssey. Simon Says. Simon Says for the Magnavox Odyssey. So... Apparently there's a YouTube video. I'll go look at the YouTube video and formulate an opinion based on that. Where Gonna go forward a bit. No! Gonna go forward a bit. So if I remember correctly, isn't the Magnavox Odyssey the one where you put like a film thing on your TV? Huh. Oh, alright. So film on the TV and then you input your square to the thing. That's interesting. I think I had heard about this. I want to say this was mentioned in some sort of Angry Video Game Nerd episode or some such at some point in time. I'm gonna say that I think this is a video game. You, as the player, pull cards from a deck of cards, and that tells you what to do in the video game. I think it's a bit of a weird situation where normally I expect the video game to do most of the thinking for how the game needs to progress. Obviously in this, you're responsible for pulling cards independent of the game, of keeping track of score independent of the game, you're basically handling everything. All the game is letting you do is it is the medium with which you move your square to either your pet or your arm or your necklace or your eyes or whatever. It's certainly an interesting edge case again, but I'm gonna say this is a video game. I think even if only a very minimal part of it is experienced through the video game itself is enabling the play in a way that wouldn't be quite the same if you were just playing normal Simon Says without the Magnavox Odyssey. The New York Times crossword, we're talking about the print version of it. It is not a video game. Now, let me double check that this is the print version, although seeing as it started in 1942, this is, yeah. The version of it that existed only in print checks out. Kids Pics. So we're gonna get to Mario Paint later, and I think I can say Mario Paint has enough gameplay elements that I would consider it a video game. You know, you've got the fly swatting mini game. You've got and I guess that really is the main video gamey element there. Maybe I don't think Mario Paint is a video game. My gut instinct tells me it should be, though. But I look at something like Kids Pics, and I used various versions of Kids Pics growing up, and it definitely has, like, fun elements of it, but I don't think it's fundamentally different in concept than something like Microsoft Paint. It's just more fun. Yeah. I'm gonna say it's not a video game. It's a particularly fun digital image making software. Clubhouse Games is a video game. I think video simulations of games are video games. Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition is not a video game. I think even if you're playing it using like D&D Beyond apps, I think too much of you know, I think Oh, big yawn. I think it could be played. It's a pen and paper game, primarily, and it gives you options to digitize elements of it. But I think, at its core, in a vacuum, Dungeons and Dragons 5th Edition is a pen and paper, person-to-person game as opposed to a video game. NES, Nintendo Switch Online. So the first time I did this poll, or the previous version of the poll, I said that I thought this was a video game, and I think my thought process has changed. I think this is a piece of software that compiles video games, if that makes any sort of sense. I don't think there's any play meant to happen in this software. The play is all meant to happen in the games that are contained within the software. So I'm gonna say the Nintendo Entertainment System application for Nintendo Switch Online users on the Nintendo Switch is not a video game. Mayonnaise is not a video game. Don't be silly. Microsoft Flight Simulator, especially modern versions of Microsoft Flight Simulator, those are video games. Tetris, that's a video game. Night Trap is a video game. I think these ones feel pretty cut and dry, as does Doom. Doom is a video game. Wow. Leapster learning game Ratatouille. I think I had this Leapster. So I didn't have this Ratatouille game in particular. I think I had a Sonic the Hedgehog game for this. Is that true? Yes, the Sonic X game. Yeah, I had the Sonic X game for this. If I am to... I don't know how easy it'll be to find footage for this. I'm going to assume it is similar to the Sonic X one that I played on the Leapster. And I'm going to assume that even if it's made, with learning as a focus, I would consider this to be a video game. The Orange Box, again, just based on what we were talking about with Nintendo Entertainment System, I think the Orange Box is a piece of software that allows you to open and play 3 different video games. But I don't think the Orange Box itself is a video game. It is just the means to which you get to the video games that are featured on the disc. I think it's definitely a weirder one, partially because the original release of these games are all on this disc originally. You could go to the store and buy the Orange Box and pop it into your PS3 and then play these games. But again, I don't think the Orange Box itself is a video game. I'm gonna say it's not a video game. New York Times Crossword 2014. So differentiated from the previous New York Times crossword that we saw. See, I wish this were a little bit more specific. If this was just referring to the digitized version, or also including parts of it that appear in the newspaper, but based on it taking us to the New York Times games page and using this specific logo for the crossword as opposed to the more classic New York Times crossword logo, I'm going to say this is referring to the digital version that you can play on modern devices like your phone and stuff. It plays the crossword, you have the mini versions of the crossword, you have the spelling bee game, you have What's the one that Northern Lion always plays with the colors and I think this is a video game in the same way that I think Wordle is a video game. I think just taking the crossword and putting it on a screen makes it a video simulation of a puzzle, and I think a puzzle is a game. Roblox is a video game. Sometimes Roblox is... I'm gonna say Roblox is a video game in the same way that I would consider Super Mario Maker a video game. I think there's an element of play infused into even the creation of games for Roblox. I think everything is done through the lens of a video game. It's a bit unfortunate that Roblox is like a wide thing. Like if you were to ask me separately, like the Roblox game editor versus Roblox, then I would say the Roblox game editor is not a game, but Roblox itself is a game. But without that distinction being made, I have to say that Roblox is a game. Geocaching, I guess I've never seen what the website looks like for geocaching. I know they get you get coordinates on a mobile device, but then you go there in person. I think this is a physical game where you use your phone to some extent. In the same way with, we were talking about that wolf board game, the werewolf board game. That's a physical game where you can also use an electronic device to assist and play, but it's not the main method with which you play or interact with the game. The balance is too much in favor of the physical world as opposed to the video game space. So I'm gonna say it's not a video game. Candy Box 2013. Oh. I would like to go to Candy Box. I'm gonna save the game at 5 candies. I'm going to eat all the candies, and I'm going to load my downloaded save, which is at 5 candies. I'll eat the candies again. Interesting. I think Candy Box is a video game. An incremental timer. I don't think there's much fun to be had there. I think it's one of those games that are more interesting in concept than in gameplay, but I enjoy things like, LSD Dream Simulator is, mostly about how interesting it is in concept as opposed to how much fun the moment-to-moment gameplay is. Candy Box is a video game. Black Mirror Bandersnatch is an interactive bit of television, an interactive film. I would consider it a video game in the same way that I would consider the Telltale games a video game, or I would consider Fate Stay a video game. Nintendo DS Browser is not a video game. Nintendo DS Browser is software running on a video game console. Pico 8. I'm not super familiar with what the Pico 8 is. I have seen projects done in Pico 8. including Celeste, which is neat. By all accounts, it looks like a game engine, a fantasy video game console. Mimics the limited graphical sound and capabilities of old 8-bit systems. I think this is a tool that you can use to make video games, but not a video game in and of itself, similar to RPG Maker. So that's not a video game. Until Dawn is a video game. What is the video game 2020? Downloadable game for Windows. Howdy. Editor Munch Buddy here, bringing you another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I went ahead and played What is a Video Game? The itch.io. It's a compilation of EXEs meant to make you think about what a video game is. And it was super intriguing. I actually recorded my whole playthrough of it. And I'm gonna upload it as an unlisted video in the description of this video if you are interested. It's really dry. I spend multiple minutes just like staring at blank screens and reading text documents of what the game is trying to say or the art project is trying to say. It's really intriguing and it gave me a lot to chew on. Thankfully, I don't think it's too hard to make a decision as to whether or not what is a video game is a video game. I think what is a video game is a compilation of EXE files that you can click on and experience. But I think in a similar way as to how I say Nintendo Switch Online and the Orange Box are not a video game, I would say what is a video game is not a video game. But the game itself really has you like second guessing whether or not Word documents or clicking anything on a computer is a video game. I mean, the game basically leads you to the conclusion that if you are engaging in any sort of play while looking at a computer screen or any sort of digital display, the game tries to lead you to the conclusion of, or at least lead you down the line of logic of whether or not you would consider that a video game, is looking at a blank screen and imagining a character running around on that blank screen. Is that a video game? I personally don't think so. I think there's just a video game in my mind is something that's designed for the purpose of play and takes input from the player and does something with it. Even if it's damn near nothing, I want it to do something. So I think there are EXE files in what is a video game that I would consider video games in the absolute broadest sense. But as a whole, I don't think every EXE in the compilation, I don't think all of those EXEs are video games. And I don't think what is a video game, the folder containing a collection of EXE files and a text document, is a video game. But it's definitely super interesting. And more than watching my Let's Play of it in the description, I would recommend you to go and experience what is a video game for yourself. I think it was really neato. Anyways, whenever we cut back to the recording, I am going to say it does not look like a video game because it doesn't look like there's enough input. And I don't agree with that reasoning. My official reasoning is I don't think it's a video game because it's a compilation of exe files. That's it. Go back to the recording, you dummy. I'm gonna say I don't, an initial glance, I don't think it looks like a video game. Duolingo is, this one's hard. So I don't think Fitbit is a video game. I think Duolingo is so close to a video game, but you answer questions, makes a dinging noise, it keeps track of your score. But that's all stuff that it would make sense for a learning app to do. I think it's, again, using the language and aesthetic of video games to encourage learning. Duolingo isn't like Mavis Beacon teaches typing, where there's like little mini games or other interactive elements. Like Duolingo, there is no play there is just the learning, which is the intended purpose. And then they show you things that remind you of video games to make the learning feel more fun. But I think at its core, it's Rosetta Stone with a coat of paint. I'm gonna say I don't think it's a video game. I'm gonna say YouTube is not a video game, although I admit that some YouTube videos, especially a lot of like early ones that had like the annotations that you could click on to skip to different parts of the video, I think a lot of those were video games. And we just talked about that one YouTube video that we watched a moment ago that had the interactive element with the time travel. I think that was a video game, but I don't think YouTube, the website, is a video game. Dream Life. What is this? Dedicated console life simulation game. I would love to see anything about this. Yeah, this looks like a video game to me. I mean, if I say Tamagotchi is a video game, then by all accounts, this looks like a video game. I Am a Teacher Super Mario Sweater. So I really wish this one came up earlier in the poll, because I think it's such a clear example of a concept that pops up on this poll a lot, which is something that is not a video game. No, I'm a Teacher, Super Mario Sweater. From everything that I have seen, I have not personally run the program. I don't know if there's like any like crazy neat Easter eggs or anything that might constitute more of a play experience, as everything that I've been able to see about it indicates that Super Mario Sweater is a knitting program that just happens to run on a video game console. I don't think there is an element of play there. I think too much of the game is non-interactive or requires, too much of the game takes place not in the video game. Like you knitting the sweater, that's not a video game. And I'm gonna say, I don't think I Am a Teacher Super Mario Sweater is a video game. I don't think that should be the most surprising decision. Sega Sonic Popcorn Shop. So, I know you spin a wheel. Yeah, you spin a wheel. Or is it spinning a wheel? Um, yeah, that's the hand crank there. You spin a wheel, it moves the treadmill in the image, and it basically gives you a short arcade-style video game to play while your popcorn is being made. I think it's super bare bones, but I'd say that is a video game. There is a video screen, you are interacting with the game, that's a video game. Hypnospace Outlaw is a video game. A very fun one that I still need to beat, but I had a lot of fun with. So I actually had this Jumpstart first grade game. And I would call it a game. It is definitely a teaching program similar to Mavis Beacon, but I think there are, you know, I remember there being random things you can click on that would make noises. I remember there being, you know, just activities to do, you know, obviously this would be better if I could pull it up and play it right now and see just what the ratio is of like learning to play. I remember just playing this for the sake of playing it growing up. You know, I think an educational video game is still a video game as long as it prioritizes play in some aspect. So I'm gonna say, yeah, it's a video game. Cicada 3301, is this the ARG? Yes. Howdy, Editor Munch Buddy here with another Editor Munch Buddy moment. I'm gonna be honest, I spent a bunch of time in the original recording reading the Wikipedia article for Cicada 3301. And it was boring, so instead of watching me do that, I'll skip to the part where I say I don't think it's a video game, but it admittedly, I think there are a couple things on the quiz in which my logic as to why I don't think it is a video game is at its flimsiest. I truly think this is one of those moments. You know, it is solving an ARG like Cicada 3301 is an activity that you can do at your computer for intrigue, for entertainment, for fun. And that should normally constitute it as a video game, but Cicada 3301 also sends people to real-life locations to find clues, a la geocaching. It doesn't have immediate feedback. It takes place through like real life time and real life events. Like you know, even if you solve a puzzle and get the answer, like there's no guarantee that you get like a response or you learn anything immediately. Just eventually another clue, another puzzle will drop. It's just there are too many parts of it that I think are so far removed from what we would colloquially refer to as a video game that I have a really hard time calling it a video game for reasons that I'm not good at verbalizing. And because of that, you'll see once we cut back to the recording that I, after much rumination, have determined that it's not a video game. I guess that's where I'm at with it. I really don't know about this. And there's a couple, maybe we'll do a debrief all the way at the end of this video where I talk about the ones that I have the most second guesses about. This is definitely one of them. But anyways, back to the recording. I'm gonna say it's not a video game. But that's a really rough one. That's a hard one. Can Your Pet is a Flash game. I'm not gonna click on it. I'm not gonna play it. It's the dumb PETA one where you raise a chicken and then you put it into a meat grinder. It's a video game. It's just dumb as shit. Super Press Space to Win Adventure RPG 2006. It's a Newgrounds game, and it sounds like I need to press space to win.
At long last we meet.
Yeah, I think I've seen enough. That's a video game. It's a Flash game. It seems entirely linear and based on a single input, but so is a visual novel if it doesn't have dialogue selection options. If I just click through all of Tsukihime without making any well, Tsukihime has branching paths. It's not the best example. I can't really think of a visual novel off the top of my head that doesn't have branching paths, but I believe a visual novel that doesn't have branching paths would still be a video game. I think this is also a video game. Inuiji. Man, we're getting some goofy shit. Is a art browser fan game using the Pico 8, combines Super Mario Bros. And boredom, the Freshwood Inui, and Mario's fraternal twin brother Luigi. I mean, I just gotta see the game. I need to see Luigi. Well, immediately I'm interacting with it. I can ruminate. I can smoke. Yeah. This is interactive. It's video medium. That's a game. I wouldn't be able to in good conscience say that's like this isn't a video game whenever I think it is a video game. I wouldn't be able to in good conscience say this is a video game if I say something like Humaniki is a video game. Ooh. This looks cool as hell. I can move the caption. So it follows an honor system, but so does, I mean, you know, Color Game TV 6, Nintendo's Pong. Nintendo's Pong followed honor rules. It didn't keep track of your score, if I remember correctly, or maybe it might have. I might be thinking of other Pong games that don't keep track of score and follow honor rules. That Magnavox Odyssey Simon Says game followed honor rules. As such, I have to say I I think, I mean, by all accounts, this is a video game. How could it not be? I'm playing it. I think there are lots of games that follow rules of honor. Actually, this this might be fun as hell. It feels like I'm just ooh, I would have to restart there. I'm gonna fucking bookmark this shit. I'm coming back to play more of this. That's really fun. Yeah, that's a video game. It's a really unconventional video game. I don't even think it's that much of an edge case. I could say part of it is I think I've been thinking of video games as having a bit more interaction directly with the thing, but I think if it was just my mouse cursor over the video, I don't know if I would consider that a video game. But the idea that I move around the caption and that represents my point of input, I think it's a video game. The Impossible Quiz is a video game. I played it a bunch. It's goofy, it's silly, it's a flash game, it's got some, you know, really goofy answers. But yeah, that's a video game. And Flappy Bird is also a video game. Asteroids, the arcade game, is a video game. Balatro is a video game. Slay the Princess is a video game. Before Your Eyes, this is the one where it has the eye detector, and whenever you blink, it skips forward. Yeah. Alright. Before Your Eyes is a video game. Google Earth. Alright. So people were asking about this on Jan Massely's Miss Alley's Tumblr asking Google Earth include the flight sim available in the desktop version, or only count what's seen in the original. They did not clarify an answer there. I'm gonna say and the thing is, Google Earth and Google Maps as well have done like various like Easter egg, like April Fool's type events in the past. But I'm gonna go ahead and say I think Google Earth has played around with the idea of having interactive video gaming elements enough in the past that while I think the primary tool of the software is not to be a video game, it is a computer program that certainly enables play in a similar way to the Jumpstart pre-K game, the PC game that we were looking at, and Mavis Beacon teaches typing. I think I feel alright saying Google Earth is a video game. It's definitely a big stretch, and I wouldn't fault anybody else for saying otherwise, but I think it's a video game. Super Mario Run is a video game. I had fun playing it back in high school. Humpty Dumpty. So this is a pinball machine. It had, I would say, I would say this is not a video game. I had to look at, I think those fully digital pinball machines I would consider to be video games, but a mechanical pinball machine I'm gonna say is not a video game unless there's like some big, screen component. which, as I understand looking on that page, I don't think Humpty Dumpty has any of. I'm gonna say Mario Paint is not a video game. Ugh. It has the fly swatting minigame, and that's just pure video game there, you know? There's no arguing with the fact that that fly swatting video game is video game. And the rest of the game might be an art program, an art and music program. But I think I gotta say it's a video game just based on that fly swatting minigame. That might be a little bit silly, but it's similar to what I just said for Google Earth. It's a program, but it has chosen to have minigames and feature play. I think there are other things with less playful interactive elements that I've called video games, so I'm gonna call Mario Paint a video game. And I don't think Kids Pix has that level of play, and I don't think MS Paint has that level of play. Discord has video games built in, but I don't think Discord itself is a video game. I think it's like the Orange Box, where Discord can give you access to video games, but it's not a video game in and of itself. I'm gonna say Discord's not a video game. To be or not to be. Oh, is this a choose your own adventure book? This is the one that earlier they showed me that, oh, it's Tyson Hess of Sonic fame. That's so neat. Yeah, I mean, as far as I can tell, this is a book that also has a video game version of the story, but this version of the story as presented here is a book, and a book is not a video game. I saw this one earlier whenever I was scrolling through this, and it blew my mind, and I had to think about it. Alright, for example, there's a game that just came out recently called Face Love, made by the developers of God Garden Grove, and I'm blanking on the name of their other game. Yeah, it's like essentially like a weird gamified Icru maker. I don't know. I think a game that is just a character creator, I would consider a game still. I think the act of creating a little character is fun in and of itself. I've actually done this Picrew before, but on my phone, so I don't think it would have my saved creation. No, it does not. I'm gonna say, I think Picrews can be video games. I think my definition right now has gotten really broad, and I can't think of a good reason to disqualify a Picrew that doesn't conflict with some other things I've said. So I think it's a video game. WarioWare DIY is a video game. It's a video game that also lets you make video games, but I had this game growing up. Even if you don't make a video game, there's plenty of game to play in WarioWare DIY. Plus, I think it's the same thing as like Mario Maker, where Mario Maker is a video game. Even if you spend all your time in the maker, it is just too gamified not to be. The Ticket Muncher. The Ticket Muncher is not a video game. It's like Duolingo, where it's something very practical using the aesthetic of something funnier. Specifically, number go up, ticket go in, and the Chuck E. Cheese machine goes. So, yeah, it's not a video game. Just Dance is a video game. Blazeball? Blaseball? Baseball simulation horror game? Occasionally deliver dialogue on the website and through Twitter accounts. This looks interesting. Can I look at what the original thing was? Is it done? Is it done? There's nothing to play anymore? Huh. I mean, it's interactive. It, you know, I'm gonna say, this, by all accounts, looks like a video game. Certainly seems like a bit of an odd video game, that's for sure. Baldur's Gate 3 is a video game. Fitbit is not a video game. It's a fitness app that uses aesthetics and language of video game to encourage getting your steps in, and sometimes giving you rewards for doing your steps. But play is not the intended version of the app, and you can essentially, I don't know, it's not a video game. Cookie Clicker is a video game though. GeoGuessr is a video game. Higurashi When They Cry, a visual novel, is a video game, unless this is... Alright, yeah, this is the visual novels. Alright, yeah. Visual novel, Higurashi When They Cry, is a video game, unless this is referring to the series. I think this Wikipedia page is just for the series, right? No, this is a compilation game of 2 games. Look, this Wikipedia page, I don't think it's giving me a very clear idea of what was intended by putting this on here. I'm going to assume this is referring to the visual novel, in which case it is a video game. This is our last question. Progress Quest. So I've heard about Progress Quest in the past. As far as I can tell, even if it's very tongue-in-cheek, even if it's very silly, even if there's, minimal interaction with it, Progress Quest is a video game. We can play video games that are entirely in menus. In the same way that we can have a visual novel, a game that's no mechanics, all narrative, we can have a video game that's all mechanics, no narrative. Yeah. And I'm gonna submit my form, and then I would like to see previous responses, and we're gonna go through super quick here, because I recognize this recording has already been long. Alright, Gone Home, I agree it's a video game. Fitbit is not a video game. Duolingo is not a video game. Tetris is a video game. Wordle is a video game. I love to see people on the right side of history here. Candy Crush Saga is a video game. Homestuck, I consider it to be a video game. I'm not surprised that a lot of people don't think it's a video game. I just think it's I just don't know how you say this is not a video game, but any of the visual novels are video games. I just can't justify how it's different than a visual novel in any meaningful way. So if I scroll down and we see the visual novels and they are listed as video games, then I'm gonna say that people are silly. Maybe they just don't think web games are video games, but I don't think that's true. I mean, Wordle's here. Super Mario Run, video game. Mario Bros. Arcade, video game. I Am a Teacher, Super Mario Sweater. Most people seem to think it's not a video game. I agree with them. A lot of people got tricked by the idea that it is on a video game console. Not everything on a video game console is a video game. That's a silly line of logic. The Game & Watch. A lot of people think it's a video game. I agree. I'm glad to see it. Polybius, man, how many people just like... I have to know whether these are people who just don't know that Polybius is a rumor and not an actual video game. Like, if they just saw a picture of an arcade machine for the option and said, an arcade machine's a video game, the idea of a video game is not a video game. If I say, oh, I'm thinking about making a game that's like Doki Doki Literature Club, except not fucked up, like, that concept in and of itself is not a video game. It's a concept of a video game. Just like Polybius is the concept of what if a video game were fucked up. Disagree with that. Asteroids. I did agree with this one. It is a video game. American football, not a video game. Tabletop chess, like in-person chess, not a video game. I like to see people agreeing that chess.com is a video game. I think especially the inclusion of ELO and like digital ELO, like keeping track of your score. I think there are so many video gaming elements to the way chess.com chooses to adapt chess. But even then, the idea of simulating chess in digital means, I think that's a video game. Same with Wii Chess. Super Mario Bros. Not a video game. Which one was this referring to? Oh, the movie. Yeah, no, the movie's not a video game. I like to see people agreeing with me on this one. I was kind of worried about this one. Yeah, I think it's an application that lets you boot up video games, but the application itself is not a video game. But I better see consistency whenever we get to Orange Box. Sticky Balls is a video game. Bop It is not a video game. Street Pass is a video game. I think this 28% here must not have played much Street Pass. I don't understand how you justify it as not a video game. Minesweeper is a video game. Microsoft Word is not. Microsoft Paint is not. Microsoft Excel is not. Microsoft Flight Simulator, both versions are video games. I agree with that. I think the older one looks less video gamey, but I can say the modern one has like time trial modes and stuff like that. Like, it's super video gamey. But I agree that I think both of them are video games. Mario Paint, I ultimately said it was a video game. I see people agree. I see it's a little bit contentious, but I think I agree that it is a video game. The Choose Your Own Adventure, this was the movie that you interact with your remote. I said that I thought this one was a video game. I'm glad to see people agree with me. Cave of Time, which one was this again? Oh, that's the Choose Your Own Adventure book. I agree with people that it's not a video game. This one was interesting. So I said I thought it was a video game. And I generally agree with that. See, I think Cave of Time, the problem isn't that a choose your own adventure game is not game enough to be a video game. It's purely that there's just no video game aspect. I don't understand how we can say Choose Your Own Adventure Abominable Snowman is more of a video game than Black Mirror Bandersnatch. The concepts seem the same to me. And Dragon Slayer is just like both of those as well. Dragon Slayer, that's a video game, and people had very little issue, it seems, calling it as such. Google Earth, I'm not surprised to see that I'm on the wrong side of history here. They just got too many fucking mini games to not be at least a little bit of a video game. 5th edition, yeah, it's not a video game, I agree. Baldur's Gate is a video game. Sometimes it happens like that. It's a digitized version of 5th edition, but it, you know, a 5th edition is a story that only exists if your friend tells the story with you. And has much more reliance on like pen and paper, and even if you play it digitally, I think it's no. 5th edition isn't checking the rules for you. You aren't interacting directly with 5th edition. 5th edition is a book that offers you rules, and then you play within those rules within your little social group. Baldur's Gate follows the rules for you. I think that's what makes it different. Humpty Dumpty, pinball game, not a video game. I agree. Portal 2 is a video game, Doom is a video game, Tumblr's not a video game, this poll is not a video game, Jeopardy, the television show, is not a video game, but it's definitely an interesting one. Fate Stay is a video game. I don't know. I kind of think the Friends quiz is a video game, similar to the Impossible quiz. You answer questions, you're supposed to get enjoyment. I understand there's not a win-lose condition for the Friends quiz, but neither is there for Yume Nikki. I keep bringing up Yume Nikki. It's just my go-to concept of a video game that's hardly a video game. Alright. Stanley Parable, definitely a video game. Orange Box, people are not consistent. They said the NES application was not a video game, but they say Orange Box is a video game. Hate the lack of consistency. And Clubhouse Games, totally a video game. Deep Blue, not a video game. I agree with both of those. Dinosaur Game is a video game. AI Dungeon is a video game. Zork is a video game. Mayonnaise is not. Oregon Trail, wait, is this, which Oregon Trail is this? Yeah, this is the text-based printed out one. I don't know. I think people just didn't click the article. They were thinking of the DOS version of Oregon Trail, the same one that I was thinking of originally. Like, I don't know how you can look at this version of the game where it's printing it out on paper like this and say that this is a video game. I think it's just truly not. I think people just did not click the very... I really appreciate just having the links to everything. I think it makes filling out these polls so much fun. I noticed that in the past with I voted on a poll for Mario characters that Ms.Maximilian put out at some point, and I love just having the direct links to things. I think it's very nice. Native Speaking teaches typing. People seem to agree with me that it's a video game. Jumpstart First Grade, people seem to agree that it's a video game. GeoGuessr, people agree it's a video game. Everyone thinks Flappy Bird's a video game. Everyone thinks Cookie Clicker is. Most everyone thinks Progress Quest is a video game. Keep Talking, I expected more contention on this one. I mean, such a big part of the game is the set of people who have a notebook or a stapled packet of papers or whatever. But no, I agree that it's a video game. So is Hypnospace Outlaws, so is Where's an Egg, so is Just Dance, so is Wii Fit, so is Night Trap. I'm surprised to see 10% goes no on that. I feel like Night Trap's a pretty clear-cut video game in my opinion. It's just a different artistic medium, but it's still a video game. You play it like a video game. Like if instead of FMV it were like pixelated sprites, or I mean like Night Trap is just a David Cage game, but I was gonna say less shitty, but I remember what I've seen of Night Trap looking pretty shitty as well. Until Dawn, that's a video game. Detroit, that's a video game. PT is a video game. Oh wait, no. Yeah, I still just need to go play this game. I'll play this game. I said it looks like it's not a video game, but I should probably try it. I'm willing to take the L on that one. Press Space to Win is a video game. Burn the Rope is a video game. Before Your Eyes is a video game. Stack Up is a video game. Wiki Racing, I don't think it's a video game. It's nothing you're interacting with is imposing any rules on you. You are playing with a website, not playing a video game. Again, my stick analogy from before was probably a bit more clever. Crossword pre-digital, not a video game. Crossword post-digital is a video game. Slay the Princess, definitely just a video game. To Be or Not to Be, which one was this again? Oh, the book, yeah, not a video game. The video game version is a video game. Actually, it's not a video game. Space War is a video game. Raid, Candy Box, Her Story, Inuigi, Tabletop Sim. Which one was Beginner's Guide? Oh yeah, Stanley Parable thing. It's Stanley Parable Creators. It's probably not nice to refer to the other thing they made as just Stanley Parable thing. My bad. Yeah, no, I agree those are all video games. I agree Tiddlywinks and Discord are not video games. I agree OXO looks like it's a video game. Line Rider is a video game. Getting into philosophy or getting to philosophy is not a video game. Video survival game with lasers. I'm glad so many people seem to agree that it's a video game. That was genuinely fun and cool. Leapster Learning Game, that is a video game. Rez is a game. LSD Dream Emulator is a game. Calculator Spelling is not a game. Tamagotchi is a game. I'm glad so many people agree with that. Tomodachi Life is a game. Miitomo is a game. Miiverse, I'm glad people agree that it's not a game. And people just say anything that runs on a video game console is a game, and I don't agree with that, so that's nice. Popcorn Shop, more people need to remember that there is a point of interaction there. I think it's a video game. Ticket Muncher, not a video game. Harry Teaches You Time Travel, another super split one. I guess you could say it's like a novelty video that you're not actually... Well, no, you are interacting with it, and it's a form of play. No, I will not talk myself out of it. I think it's simply a video game. People are foolish. 48% of people just don't understand. Blase Ball, Lace Ball. I don't know how that's meant to be pronounced. Yeah, looked like a video game. Double Up Joker Poker, yeah, that's a video game. Ballad Show is a video game. Simon is not a video game. Can Your Pet is. Simon Says the Magnavox Odyssey game is a video game. I'm glad people agreed to that. I'm sure it would have been very easy to think it's not. I don't fault the people who don't think it is. It's certainly a weird one. Another really weird one. I can't even remember what I ended up saying for it. I don't know. I really think it's not a video game, but I think I probably said it was a video game just because it created too many logical fallacies or whatever the fuck. Impossible Quiz, yeah, that shit's a video game. RPG Maker is not. Dream Life is. I remember looking at this one. Yeah. No, people are perhaps a little bit silly in saying that it's not. PokeWalker, I agree that it is a video game, but geocaching is not. Pokemon Go is. Fashion Dreamer is. Infinity Nikki is. I don't think the Pit Crew is a video game, but I think it has to be. At least a little bit. Maybe people are thinking of it as pure functionality as opposed to play, but I think something that is just a character maker. I think the Mii Plaza on the Wii, where you create your Miis, I think that's probably a video game. Genshin Impact is a game. Higurashi is a game. Princess Toadstool Castle Run, I'm glad to see people think that Watch is a game. Coin World is a game. PDI Check is not a game. Starry Night, obviously not a game. Pokemon Sleep, a little contentious, but I think it's pretty clearly a game. Petscop is not a game, as far as I could tell. Maybe this 30% knows something I don't know. David's Quest is a game. Scale of the Universe is not. I'm glad people seem to generally agree on that. It's an interactive digital thing, but I don't think its purpose is play. Marble Blast Platinum, I'm surprised there's anybody who says it's not a video game. Cha-Cha Slide is not a video game. Roblox Fortnite. Oh, Microbon. I said this one wasn't a video game because you could just print out the puzzles on a piece of paper. I mean, I guess that's the same for like the crossword. It's certainly a tricky one, but there's just no point of interaction with Microbon here. Yeah, super strange. Pico 8, not a video game. Glad most people seem to acknowledge that. Color TV Game 6, wild. 39% of people don't think Pong is a video game. Insane. Maybe they're thinking about it as the console. So I did say I don't think a console is a video game, but that console only plays one game, and it is referred to as TV Game 6. I have to think it's a video game. Nintendo DS browser, not a video game. Gold Digger is. Minecraft Story Mode is. YouTube is not. WarioWare DIY is. Game Maker is not. Kids Pix is not. Formula E is not. Hot Dog is not. Mario, the concept, is mostly seen as not a video game. I wonder what these people were on. 25% of people who were like, he's a character from a video game, that counts. NES Classic Edition. I'm glad people recognize that it's not a video game. It's a physical thing that runs video games. My computer's not a video game. The games it runs is. Stock Exchange is not a video game. I feel like this might be one where people were given funny, silly answers. I wouldn't doubt it. And One Night Ultimate Werewolf. Most people seem to think it's not a video game. I don't know how many people realize that there was even the mobile phone element of it. Honestly, I feel like I don't like how decisive this is, because in my mind this was definitely one of the harder ones to decide. Yeah, no, I feel generally very good about that. Just again, a super fun poll from the fantastic Jan Masali. Just really fun poll. The past couple polls that they've put out has been just super charming to engage with. If I upload this, I will of course have the poll in the description. or a link to see the results of the poll, and link to Ms. Sally's, various online presences. Yeah, super fun time. This recording was too long. I listened to Sonic Mega Collection's history song for 3 hours straight. Or 2 hours, 45 minutes, but who's counting? Anyways, thanks for thinking about video games with me. Bye-bye. Psych! The video is never over. Howdy, everybody. Editor Munch Buddy here with another final Editor Munch Buddy moment. If you got to the end of this video, I don't care if you had it on while you were eating or just in the background or played it while you were falling asleep. I think that is remarkable. There is no reason on this earth that you should be at the end of this 3-hour-long video in which I ramble dryly about silly categorizations for what is or isn't a video game. So, if that's you and you're here, thank you. I do want to finish us off with like a final little wrap up of what I learned throughout the process of filling out this poll. And sorry if for like that last hour there I was super low energy. I went ahead and recorded this originally at I started at like 1:30 in the morning and I finished the recording at like 3 or so in the morning. Oh no, it would have been later than that. I think I finished the recording that you just watched finished at like 4:30 in the morning. It took forever. I went through it super slowly. I tried to cut out the longest bits where I'm just sitting around not even talking. But it was a bit of a whole thing. But I had a lot of fun filling out that wonderful poll from Ms. Sally. I think Tokopona is supposed to have the emphasis on the consonants like that. At least that's what I could find in looking it up. And Tokopona seems really interesting. That being said, let's go over what conclusions I have personally come to here. I think, for my money, and I might even use the text box here. I think a video game has to have a visual component. Oh no, I don't know how to spell. Visual, let's go aspect on a digital screen. I think that's pretty clear cut. It has to have a visual aspect on a digital screen. I'm not super concerned with like what level of quality the screen is. I think the little LCD screens are fine. I think I think we can all agree that it has to have some sort of video aspect to be a video game. I think as well, I'm gonna say a video game needs to have some sort of interaction from the player. I think if a video game exists and it, if we're trying to decide if something is a video game, but you as a player don't have any impact on the thing that you're looking at, then there's nothing to set it apart from a movie or listening to some music. I think, I think your input has to do something. It doesn't have to do much. It could be as simple as progressing the words on the screen to the next line of text. but you still have to be able to impact things even a little bit as a player. I need to interact with the game in some sort of way. And I think this last one is kind of loose, but it has to be made with the intent of enabling play. That one's kind of vague, and I think it's purposefully vague. I think, you know, I think this is what sets, you know, Microsoft Paint apart from, you know, Doom. Microsoft Paint is not made to be played with. It's made to serve its purpose of being a simple, you know, a simple image editing and image creating program. You know, and I think this one is purposefully loose. I think there are some things on the poll that really stretched how much they enabled play. I would say stuff like Duolingo and Fitbit fall just shy of enabling play enough that I would consider it to be a video game. But then you have stuff like the Fly minigame in Mario Paint, or the minigames in Wii Fit that I think do enable play, or the flight simulation mode of Google Earth, which also, you know, purposefully enables play in something that would otherwise be a more cut and dry product with a purpose. You know, same with the Jumpstart game and Mavis Beak and Teach Us Typing. And in my mind, I think these three elements here are the main three things I'm looking for, but then there are some really interesting edge cases. I think the ones that confused me the most going through this whole thing, whether it was, you know, Magnavox Odyssey or Cicada 3301 or the Werewolf board game that had the optional mobile app, or even something like geocaching, is the idea of a hybrid play. Please don't make fun of my handwriting. I think the games that featured hybrid play like that were the ones that had me the most stumped. It's kind of the same as the Jeopardy problem I was having. Just this idea of something, how much can something exist outside of the video screen and still be considered a video game? You know, I think Cicada 3301 has like questionable whether or not it's purposefully made with the intent of enabling play. I think it's questionable how much interaction the player can have on the game. But most importantly, I think too much of the game happens not in the game. But that being said, I said Magnavox Odyssey's Simon Says was a game. And I think my purpose behind that is so much of the enjoyment from that Magnavox Odyssey game comes not from, you know, I know that part of the play there is supposed to be the selecting cards and keeping track of score with a potential second player. But I think the core gameplay, the thing that you do in the game, is you move your little white square around the screen to go mark things or Simon says, the way that you play the game is through interacting with the technology and moving a thing on the screen. And I think, in my mind, that is cut and dry. Like, even though there's a lot of hybrid stuff going on behind the game, where you're also sitting here and you're drawing cards and holding controllers and stuff, and that's part of the game. The game is still happening here on the screen. Whereas something like Jeopardy, the play doesn't happen on the screens. The play happens in person, and the screens are just enabling that, if that makes any sense at all. That's my gut instinct as to my distinction between hybrid play. Either we're still focusing mainly on what's happening on the screen, or we are focusing more on what's happening around us. That's similar with I was making an argument at some point during the video about how if you were to play D&D 5th edition exclusively online or exclusively through the D&D Beyond app, like, would I consider that a video game? And I think no, too much of that's based on stuff that the video game, the screen, is not doing for you, but maybe, I don't know, I'm sure some people get real intense with doing the entirety of their D&D session, like nobody's rolling a physical dice, everything's on your digital table. Or if you play D&D in a tabletop simulator, there's definitely times in which I think D&D 5th edition could be a video game, but my gut instinct is normally it's a hybrid play where you are focusing on the stuff in the room rather than the stuff on the screen. So other than that, let's see what other edge cases I thought there were. One of the main ones is I kind of wish, before doing this whole video, I wish I had played the itch.io What is a Video Game project. Like, that whole game really had me second guessing, like, it really had me second guessing on, like, if just staring at a screen and engaging in some form of mental play, even without input from the game, is that a type of play? And I don't think my definition would stretch that far, but I think What is a Video Game makes a really good case for how minimal a video game can be and still invoke the feelings of a video game. It's a super interesting thought exercise. I think, this poll itself is an interesting thought exercise, and then that What is a Video Game itch.io game is another really interesting thought exercise, and in conjunction they work together quite well. That being said, I can't really make heads or tails on if What is a Video Game should be considered a video game. My gut instinct cop-out answer is it's a compilation of programs that may or may not be video games. As to each of the individual video games in that collection, I'm not sure which ones I would and wouldn't consider video games. There's some that are like so dead simple that I can't justify not calling them a video game if I also called something like Candy Box a video game. Candy Box is one that I keep thinking about, and if I let Candy Box be a video game, which I ultimately did decide, I think Candy Box is a video game, but boy howdy, does it make the the definition of a video game really, really broad, then it comes down to like the intent with which something is made. I think on the whole, intent of design, I think is a bit of an important thing here. I think a video game is, generally to me, feels like it should be made with the intent of being a form of play. That's why, again, Duolingo and Fitbit don't feel like video games, because it doesn't feel like they were created with the purpose of play or for entertainment. They are programs that serve a different purpose. And it, both of those, I think I could really go either way on those. I don't know what really sets Duolingo apart from like the BuzzFeed quiz, aside from the fact that I think the BuzzFeed quiz is more concerned with entertaining me than it is with teaching me. But then again, there's the examples of the Mavis Beacon and the Jumpstart. I don't know. It feels like there's not enough play in Duolingo compared to the other ones. I don't think it's throwing goofy questions at you or trying to tell you what friend's character you are. Like, those are forms of play. Another one that I thought was interesting, and something that I changed my mind on during the video, was the idea of if I think something that is just a character creator is a video game. And my initial thought was I didn't think like the Me Maker was a video game. I have to say, by the time I got to the end of recording that, I was definitely full on. I think something. I mean, I said that I thought the Picrew was a video game, and I generally agree with that. I think the Picrew is a video game. It is a thing that happens on a digital screen. It was made with the purpose of fun. I could imagine a person who looks at a Picrew as something purely functional, that the only purpose it's serving is to create an image for you. But I always personally thought of Picrews as something more akin to a dress-up game. And there were multiple dress-up games on the list that I said were dress-up games. Sorry, I gotta open the door for this cat real quick. Sorry about that. No, alright, back to what I was saying. I generally think that a Picrew is like a dress-up game, and I think a dress-up game is a game. But I could see someone thinking more so that a Picrew is simply an image-making tool. I can agree to disagree on that one. But I do think it was a pretty interesting one to think about. One that, even my own impression of changed while doing the poll. And then the other one that I think gave me the most strife is just all the different ones that are compilations or contain video games within video games. Cool. Alright, I got interrupted too many times here, so I'm gonna start this thought from the beginning. Another thing that I had a hard time wrapping my head around were various game compilations. In a weird way, I think the Orange Box, and the Nintendo Switch Online Collection, I don't think those are video games in and of themselves. I think they're software that play video games. But on the other hand, there's the nose-picking micro game from one of the WarioWare games, which I also said I didn't think was a video game. And that's because I think a video game... I personally don't think a video game can contain a video game. I think if a video game contains a video game, the video game that's inside the video game is part of the video game, if that makes sense. So part of the, I like the analogy that I used earlier, that I wouldn't call 1-1 from Mario. I wouldn't call that a video game. I think 1-1 is a level in a video game. And similarly, I don't think the nose-picking micro game from WarioWare can be considered a video game. Certainly, an interesting line of questioning, guys. I think I'm pretty firm on where I stand as far as the various compilations are concerned. Again, if the things in your compilation are video games, then your compilation is not a video game. If you are a video game, then the video games within you are parts of your video game. I wonder where that would make me stand on the video game demos in the collection mode of Super Smash Bros. Brawl. I think I'm just fine saying that those are not video games. Those are not video games because Super Smash Bros. Brawl is a video game that just happens to have a demo mode for historical video games. I don't know. That one's also a bit of a weird example, though, huh? Because Brawl's definitely a video game, but Ocarina of Time is in that collection, and that's a video game as well. Maybe a video game can contain video games. Maybe my decision is wrong. I think maybe a micro game or a mini game could be a video game in its own right. I'm not even fully sure how I feel about that, but I'm not going to make you listen to me ruminate about it for too much longer. What I do want to say at the very end here is thank you for listening to me yap. You didn't have to, and if you did anyways, you are epic and cool. You ever think about that? Anyways, go do the poll for yourself. Go play the itch.io game. It rules. Maybe go watch Jan Masali's videos about which Mario games are actually Mario games. Those ones are super interesting. Although, if you're here, you've probably already seen those. I would hope you are. Anyways, bye-bye.